It's time for CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. Find us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, YouTube, and TuneIn. The easiest thing to do is tell Alexa or Siri to play CBJ in 30. Here's your host, Bob McElligott.
You know, one of the things that makes this shelter-at-home order so tough is that it is more difficult to see your friends. Yes, you can talk to them, but to really get to see them, it just doesn't happen as often. I'm blessed. The job that I have, I've told you before, it's the greatest job in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And the other part about that is I feel that every day I go to work, I get to work with my friends. These are people that I am used to being around on an almost everyday basis from the time training camp opens in September until the playoffs end, hopefully in June. But we're together all the time. We enjoy one another's company. And of course, we get on each other's nerves at times because we're like a family. But for the most part, every day is a fun day. Every day, it's great to see everybody and to laugh and to pick on them and to joke around and to get picked on, all of that stuff. It's all a part of what we do, and it's what makes it so special. So today, I'm going to bring in a couple of my friends who maybe you haven't heard from in quite some time, and I hope that you'll enjoy hearing from them. We're going to have Jeff Rimer and Jean-Luc Grand-Pierre, both of Fox Sports Ohio, coming on in just a couple of minutes. And Jeff and I, one of the things we have to find out is about Jean-Luc's TikTok that he put out a couple of days ago. We'll talk about that and much, much more. But first, I want to tell you about some other friends of mine. That's the people at Telhio Credit Union. Now, of course, as you're at home and not supposed to go out anywhere except to the grocery store, the pharmacy, it doesn't mean that you still can't look into what you want to do with your money and to look at and see if you have your money in the right place or if there is something that's better for you. Telhio Credit Union has a website like everybody does. Their web address is telhio.org. Just go on there and you can go through that site, surf through it, and you'll be able to find their services. You'll be able to find out why you should join a credit union. You'll be able to find out so many things. And I tell you so many times about, personal checking and savings. I always mention the business, but what about just some things that they have for businesses? And right now is a trying time for business. As you're looking to get back on your feet, telhio.org can be a source for you to go to and see if they can help you out at Telhio Credit Union. Whether it's a business checking account, business CDs, business savings and money markets, or maybe it's a business credit card or a line of credit or term loans or commercial mortgage loans. Whatever the case is, they have options for you at Telhio Credit Union. Again, telhio.org is the website. On the right-hand side of the screen, there's a live chat option. If you can't find the answer to your question and you would like to ask it there, someone will be able to help you out. Telhio Credit Union is open to everyone in Central and Southwest Ohio, and they are federally insured by NCUA. So without further ado, let's bring in the guys I just told you about. The television play-by-play voice of the Blue Jackets on Fox Sports Ohio, Jeff Rimer, and one of the newest members of our broadcast crew this year is Jean-Luc Grand-Pierre, who works on Fox Sports Ohio doing pregame, intermission, and postgame coverage. Well, guys, first of all, it's good to talk to you because I haven't seen you or talked to you in quite some time. And, Jeff, I'm going to start with you because I already know what Jean-Luc's been up to, and we'll get to that in a minute. But, Jeff, what's been going on with you? I know you've gone back to your home in Florida, and other than being in the sunshine, what's going on?
Not very much, unfortunately. Basically, the days are quite boring. I'm sure that's the case for both you and Jean-Luc. I do get out and exercise with the weather, and I don't want to upset you guys, but it is in the middle 80s here in mid-afternoon, so I'm kind of enjoying working up a bit of a lather there as I walk around the community. But other than that, watching a lot of television, and it gets a little depressing from time to time, so you just basically got to walk away, shut it off. Of course, in the evenings, my wife Farrell and I watch a lot of television that isn't the newsworthy kind. We'll watch movies, and we're into a couple of different shows, so it actually becomes a little more entertaining in the evening.
What are you watching? What are you into?
There are a couple of series that we're watching. Obviously, my wife's encouraging me to finish up on Homeland. In fact, I think the last of the series was this past weekend, so we'll catch up on that. A couple of other series that I'm anticipating. In fact, I got to ask her. I think it starts Friday. Ozarks. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Ozarks, but it's a great series. And I'm looking forward to picking up the next season, which I think starts tomorrow night.
Now, I got to ask you, are these series that you watch on the plane, or do you usually just watch these when you're together with her? Because I'm in the situation where there's stuff that I watched during the season that I haven't watched, and I don't know, because I don't know if we're going to play again or how much we're going to play. So I don't know if I want to ruin it or not.
I watch you get on the plane, and I watch you and Jody, who are sitting right across the aisle from me, and you guys get on the plane and you're right into the video. I kind of save it for the summer so I can watch these series with my wife. And although she has so much to watch that there's some of that stuff that she just goes beyond me, and she'll have already watched the series. But we do watch a few series together, and one of them is Ozarks, that we're anxiously waiting to return.
All right, Jean-Luc, what about you? Let's just start with what we cannot avoid here, okay? I saw your tweet the other day. I saw your tweet the other day with your family. Where you all switched clothes. Can you just go through that and explain it to us?
So I guess this new thing that the youngsters are doing is this TikTok thing, and then Alex Rodriguez and J-Lo did one, and it kind of went viral. And so my daughters and my son decided that they want to do it. So we go outside every day, and we do a workout, family workout, just to get out of the house. Really, it helps with your mind because, let's not kid each other. It's been pretty hard to be stuck at home every day. So, yesterday, my daughter was like, "Hey, let's do this TikTok stuff." And I brought you a dress. And I'm like, no. We're not going with the dress part, but I will switch shirt with mom, and we decided to do it. So the flip the switch challenge, it was quite a bit of fun. And somehow it made it to the internet.
It made it to the internet and to Facebook. And I was thinking of unfriending you after watching it.
Oh, you enjoyed every minute of it. Don't kid yourself.
Hey, just a tip. Turn on the TV, go to Netflix, and watch Longmire. There's 6 great seasons. That might be a little bit better than some of the stuff that we saw on Twitter and on Facebook, my friend.
I will look for it.
All right, Jean-Luc, what are you into? What are you watching? Are you guys watching anything as a family or as a couple?
So I've been watching a lot of Schitt's Creek with my family and my son.
Oh, that is a great show. Jeff, have you seen that?
That's a great show.
No, my wife is into it, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Oh, if you just want to sit and laugh about ridiculous stuff, that's your ticket for 30 minutes at a time. Right, Jean-Luc?
Yeah. They're like 20-minute episodes, and they're quick and very lighthearted. You don't need to think so much. And then I've been watching on Netflix. Most of the show I'm watching right now is so with Netflix, they have a lot of Spanish shows that are like obviously in English now. And there's a show called Elite I've been watching, which is awesome. I've already watched 3 full seasons. That's been wonderful. And then another show called Money Heist that I finished, another Spanish show that is in English. So really enjoying that stuff, and doing a lot of cleaning around the house. So every day we do 1 blind a day. So we're just moving through the house, doing that stuff. Guys, it's getting really bad here. Yeah. So today we're tackling the garage. My mulch bed looked like a landscaper came. So we're doing a lot of projects around the house, taking advantage of it.
When you say those shows are in Spanish, have they been dubbed in English, or do you have to read subtitles?
They're dubbed in English, yeah. So the only thing that you have to read as a subtitle is really when they're sending text to each other. Obviously, it's at the bottom of the screen, but that's what I've been into as of late. It's been fun.
Because as Jeff knows, if there's a lot of effort, if I have to read everything, I'm not doing it. Right, Jeff?
Right on.
All right, let's talk about the job that we have that none of us are doing right now. There's some news coming out of the NHL this week. On Wednesday, the league canceled the combine, which takes place in Buffalo. There was a lot of speculation about when they were going to do that. They did it this week. They canceled the combine. They canceled the draft that was supposed to be held in Montreal. They canceled the awards show that is in Vegas. Maybe canceled is the wrong word. Maybe postponed is the word. There is going to be a draft of some kind. I guess if they have sponsors involved, they want to do that awards show, if they can do that show. But Jeff, you're usually locked in. You've talked to a lot of people around the league. Again, no surprise they've got to do something. But what do you think this indicates? That they're hoping to play hockey sometime June, July?
I would believe that's the case. And just the other day, out of the general managers' meetings, word came actually from Pierre Lebrun and the Athletic and TSN that they've now extended general managers and obviously team presidents to look into possible dates in the month of August to play hockey. And there's an interesting side note here, at least the theory, and that is with the Olympics being canceled, NBC will be looking for programming. And of course, NBC is a big partner of the National Hockey League, and I suspect that'll continue beyond this next season with a new contract going to be negotiated there and perhaps elsewhere. So there's really good chemistry between the two, and I would think that NBC would be looking for programming, and I would think the NHL would like to accommodate. But first and foremost, we have to somehow, some way, see this virus disappear. And it's interesting that we're hearing now, and of course you can't not watch some of the news shows and the updates with the president, et cetera. And I guess the social distancing, much as we are social distancing today, is working in New York, which has easily been the city and obviously the state that has been hit the hardest.
Speaking of New York, you and John Davidson are good friends. You have been ever since high school. I know you still keep in touch with him. Have you checked in with him during this pandemic?
We've talked pretty well every day, and he's hunkered in at his home in Westchester County, which unfortunately initially was one of the worst counties in the entire New York State region. But he's hanging in there. Unfortunate for him and Diana. Their daughter, Lindsay, who's in St. Louis, gave birth here this week to their third child. And she's a doctor, actually in pediatric emergency. And she worked right up until the final 2 days before giving birth. And as I said, unfortunately, the Davidsons can't be with their newest grandson, but that's certainly something that can wait. John obviously is tuned in with both the National Hockey League and now as president of the New York Rangers, dealing with New York Ranger issues on a daily basis. But he's remaining positive, and ultimately, we hope this pandemic somehow finds its way out of our country, and everybody can get back to a normal way of living.
Jean-Luc, let me ask you, as a player who has gone into the playoffs and has played into the spring, when you're talking about playing in the summertime, I know it'll be a challenge for the guys that have to make ice. There's no question about that. But it would obviously be something really different. I think could be really exciting in a way. But, as a player, when it gets warmer out, what does that ice get like when it's warmer outside?
It's not the best. My only experience with summer, hockey really was I think it was 99, 2000 when I was in Buffalo and we played the Dallas Stars in the finals, and I still remember the ice in Dallas was horrible. In Buffalo, it wasn't all so bad, but that was late into June that year, and I remember the ice being a big challenge. We're talking about fog, a lot of snow. That was before they had the ice crew coming every time out to scrape the ice, but it was definitely a big challenge. But I think these guys are pros and they're going to embrace it. It's kind of like going down to Florida where Jeff is and playing the middle of the winter, really. So whatever needs to be done, I think will be okay. But I think it's going to be a big challenge for the ice crews. And, I can tell you right now, the air conditioning in those buildings are going to be working overtime. That's for sure, to keep the temperature at a comfortable level for the ice to stay, at a competitive level for everyone.
And
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
I was just going to add that Jean-Luc's 100% right. But one thing we've seen, and just going around the NHL as we do on a game-by-game basis and talking to various people within the arenas, the cooling systems, the ice cooling systems have improved dramatically. In fact, I don't know if you guys will agree with me, but the worst building in the National Hockey League as far as cold during the season was the Staples Center in Los Angeles. But they put a new cooling system in. They hired a new ice person, and the building was not anywhere near as cold. And I know other buildings have upgraded their facilities from the ice cooling perspective. And the hope is that, with technology such as it is, if in fact we do get the opportunity to come back and play in July and August, that hopefully these new cooling systems will be effective.
And Jean-Luc, I guess one of the other bigger challenges is, and they're going to work their way through all of this, is Jeff, let the dogs in or out, whichever.
Well, which ones? We've got 3 here.
Gosh.
Sorry
Anyway,
about that.
no, you're fine. You're fine. But Jean-Luc, it adds to the whole atmosphere of the thing, Jeff. This is what makes it NHL pause hockey right here, this whole thing.
It's realistic, boys.
Yes,
It's realistic.
it is. But Jean-Luc, beyond that, players' contracts end on June 30th. There's going to have to be, a lot of work done to get through these things. But there's a lot of harmony between the Players Association and the league. They're working. It looks like they're working in lockstep, which is great. But from a player standpoint, there's going to be a lot of strange things if that scenario plays itself out, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and the number one thing is, so we heard about the draft being postponed and all these things. But my biggest thing for me is like free agency, which we all know is typically July 1st, right? So that hasn't been postponed. Has it been postponed officially yet, or no?
No.
No.
So those things
So
are yet to be determined, yet to be discussed, and I guess it all depends really on when and if we see the resumption of play.
right. So that's going to be one of the biggest thing for me as well, because as players, July 1st is typically your deadline here as far as free agency. Guys signing with other teams, let's say Taylor Hall, for example, is he finishing the season with Arizona and then joining his new team after? And what happened if he's playing against the team that he's thinking about signing on July 1st?
When you say after, you mean like 10 days later, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's gonna,
Maybe not even that long.
right. There's a lot of confusion and things that still need to get into place, but I think the number one thing is making sure that this pandemic is under control at least, and see how they're going to move forward, because we don't know if they're gonna accept large gathering right away. Will it be limited viewership? I have no idea how it's gonna work out. So they're still on the table. I think the number one thing right now that everybody's worried about is everybody being safe and try to stop that spread.
Bob, leave it to a former player to be worried about free agency above everything else.
That's right.
Very good point.
The interesting thing, and it was a group of players. The players were never named, but the players had a pretty good idea, and it came out several weeks ago. And obviously, it's going to be one of the scenarios that's considered, whereby they do play in July and August. September becomes the draft, free agency, and all other things that need to be decided. And perhaps even October is the month off, and the season would start in November. You play the full 82 game schedule, and that's the bottom line. The National Hockey League in no way, shape, or form wants to see next year's season of 82 games disrupted in any way, shape, or form. And I would think that would mean that there wouldn't be an all-star game, and there wouldn't be that 5-day mandatory break, so they could get the full 82 game schedule in next year.
And I would wonder, just off the top of my head, if that would mean no hockey played in Europe during the year next year too, because the Blue Jackets are scheduled to go over to Finland and play. I don't know if that would impact it, but Jeff, when you're talking about a compacted schedule, and that's what you would get if it started in November, even if you eliminate that the 5-day break and the All-Star break, then I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they want two teams to travel across the ocean and then come back again in that kind of a scenario.
Good point. Excellent point.
I'm a little bit worried, honestly, with the compact schedule, because so again, I'm coming from a former player. Yes, I love the old, let's play 82 games and get the revenues, because we know the players are, they're sharing the revenues with the owners. So that's a big thing. But compact schedule, we already see a lot of injuries right now, and everybody wants to be a little safer with the game, and the Blue Jackets are on the front line of that. We've seen how many injuries are happen this year. My worry is, if you're playing a compact schedule, even if you eliminate the All-Star weekend, by taking that bye week off, there's really no time for these guys to recover, and we know how fast and physical the game is. It's going to be really hard, and I'd be a little worried about that personally.
Well, that's a good point. Although the bye week is how long have they had that, Jeff? It's only been a couple, 2-3 years, right?
Yeah. I think this is the last year it's supposed to be in effect, and it's part of the CBA that was negotiated between the players and ownership in the NHL. So regardless, this could very well be the last year they do that. And of course, if they start the season in November, there's nothing that says they can't continue and extend the season next year until late April or even early May, and then start the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, I mean, there's different scenarios that they can go through, and that's why those guys get paid the big bucks in the NHL office and in the NHLPA office to come up with some type of system that would benefit everybody.
And just think of all of the discussions that are going on there right now when it comes to how to get back, when to get back. But how to get back is even more interesting to me. And Jean-Luc, do you think this is the year where we see more than 16 playoff teams when this thing resumes?
I think so. Well, first thing is figure out, are they going to, let's say, finish the season, or are
Now
they
there
going
was
right to
there was an
playoff system?
article the other day. Greg Wyshynski at ESPN.com wrote an article saying it's time to cancel the rest of the regular season with the 10 games left or whatever there is for roughly 10 games for each team. His thing was it's time to just cancel that and look forward to when you come back starting in the playoffs. So again, a lot of the speculation about it, but that's a good question. What do you do when you do come back?
Right. Well, I personally read something and I absolutely love that idea. Moving forward is, expanding the wild card in that first round and have a best of 3 series between certain teams. And they could do it this year and go from, let's say whoever's in like, that would be like 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th place in each section there, and make them play best of 3 series, and then 1, 2, 3 can sit and wait for that opponent. I think that would be awesome, really exciting. Best of 3 series, home and home, and then third game would be obviously the deciding one. That'd be a lot of fun, I think, and I think that would be a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to cover as well. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I like the idea. I think it would be the fairest way to proceed. Do away with the rest of the NHL season, add teams into the playoffs, have a mini playoff to start it off. The fact of the matter is, if they went strictly at this point of the season, they say, okay, regular season is over. And if they went to winning percentage, unfortunately, the Blue Jackets would not be one of the playoff teams. If they kept it at the same number of playoff teams, the Blue Jackets would lose out to Carolina and the New York Islanders based on winning percentage. So the best way and the fairest way to do it, and everybody then would be involved. And maybe you give buys to teams that necessarily win their divisions. There's certainly different scenarios that they could come up with. But I think increasing the number of playoff teams, like Jean-Luc points out, I think would be the fairest way to go moving forward.
And I was looking at the standings earlier today, and let's say if you go 10 instead of 8, even Jeff, you're down in Florida right now. The Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers, and this is not points percentage. This is just where you are in the standings right now. The Rangers sit just in front of the Panthers. So, but they're close enough where, that would be another gripe, I'm sure. If you're the Florida Panthers, you're saying, hey, come on, we should be involved in this too. It's so tight in the East.
It is. And that's why I think they should add teams to the postseason. I think it's the fairest way to go. Throw out winning percentage, because I think it certainly from a Columbus standpoint, and the Winnipeg Jets, despite their pretty solid season, they would be out by 0.01%. I mean, come on, let's get with it. And I think that would be the fairest way to go.
No, I agree with that. And Jean-Luc, this has been talked about a lot, expanding the playoffs in the NHL. And, there are just a lot of people that are dug in and they don't want to do it. I think this year you have the opportunity to do it. You have an excuse to do it, number one. And I think you also get a chance to look at everything in real time and see exactly how it impacts things. And I think you can get some ideas that you can take and use in future seasons from what's going on right now.
For sure. And I think it would be, it's basically a free ride for the NHL to test something without, ruffling too many feathers around the league because of the situation given, and then really assess it after and figure out if it's something worth exploring for the future. But I personally think it would be so exciting. And I mean, can you imagine best of 3 series, how much fun that would be to watch? Because every single game is so crucial, and you'd be in or out. And then I would say the first 3 teams in each division gets the free pass, and then everybody else battles to see where they're going to play.
And then one of the other questions is, okay, if you just start the season, there's no regular season games, you start right into the playoffs. And then if you're one of those top 3 and you're going to sit and wait, now another team is going to play at least 2 or 3 games to get ready before, you ever have a chance to get on the ice and play. So I guess, Jeff, it's never going to be perfect.
No, it's not. But again, I say give the division winners a bye, have the second and third seeds, have them involved in the playoffs in each of the divisions, and then ultimately the teams that are fighting for a wild card, just increase the number of wild card teams and have them play that mini playoff that Jean-Luc's talking about.
And the other thing is, for every team, when it comes back, or let's just say every team that makes whatever kind of a playoff they decide to come up with, even if you get eliminated right away, you're still going to be engaged, and your fan base is going to be engaged, because as the rest of those playoffs go on, 6-8 weeks, whatever it is, you can still be talking about the draft, because that draft is going to come bam as soon as the Stanley Cup is awarded. So you're actually talking about getting your fan base engaged in the middle of summer. And you guys know we're all in July. What are we doing? We're struggling to find things to talk about that are interesting. Now there's the possibility of starting in the middle of the summer. You get the fan base engaged. You play some games. Even if you don't make it very far, you don't have to wait long before the draft, the free agency, and training camp to open once again.
Great point. Almost like the NFL, where it's a full 12-month proposition.
Yeah, right.
I like it.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of sport on TV if this is if they're talking about July. You talk about like probably the NBA, which will follow suit with the NHL, and then you'll have baseball going on. So there'll be a lot to watch on TV. But I think the interest for every sports fan base is going to be incredible. That's for sure.
Yeah, baseball. We could have the World Series at Christmas this year.
Yeah.
And they're talking about playing into
Neutral
December.
site. Why not? Have it in a neutral site.
Yeah, you could do that. And, and again, I know Tampa made it last year, you get the warm climate teams. If, what are they talking about? The Dodgers and the Yankees being the two favorites, right?
Right.
So
Dodgers, Yankees, Cincinnati, maybe.
So you freeze for half the World Series, and the other half of the World Series, you're okay. Somebody's going to get hosed for at least 3 games. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Well, maybe that will help increase the pace of play in baseball, right? If it gets
if it's cold, they want to get off the field back into the dugout where the heater is. That's a very good point.
That's right.
Well, guys, it was great to catch up with you today. It's great to see you and talk to you and find out what you're doing and what you're thinking. And I think we'll have time to do this again if you're up for it in the future.
Absolutely. It's great to see you guys. And
I'm up for it anytime as well. I love seeing you guys. Everybody stay safe. And Bob, I listened to your podcast. Would you please get on that laundry list that needs to be done at home, man?
I know.
Clean that garage up.
I know. I got to get, well, the weather's finally, it's getting nice and it's sunny. I know it's always like that where Jeff is right now, but it's finally getting into the 50s with sun. So it's time to empty everything out of that garage into the driveway and then figure out what's going back in and what's not, right?
And Jean-Luc,
That's right.
You can send all those exercise videos you want, but put your own clothes on, will you?
I will. I'll try my best, guys. Promise.
There they are, Jeff Rimer and Jean-Luc Grand-Pierre of Fox Sports Ohio. And I want to remind you that Fox Sports Ohio is rerunning some Blue Jackets games from earlier this year. As a matter of fact, today is Friday, March 27th, and they've got a doubleheader set up for you. At noon, you'll be able to see the Blue Jackets take on the Florida Panthers. That was the game that was played on New Year's Eve where Zach Werenski had a hat trick. And then at 8 o'clock tonight, you can watch the Blue Jackets shut out the Boston Bruins. Then on Monday at noon, the Blue Jackets take on the Winnipeg Jets. That is a game that is rerun from back in January the 22nd. That will be on at noon Monday. So again, today is March 27th. It's Friday. There's a game at noon, a game at 8 o'clock, and then on Monday there's going to be a game rerun at noon. I also would like to tell you about the Blue Jackets radio replays that we're going to be bringing you starting on Monday on the Blue Jackets Radio Network. And, of course, that includes the flagship station, 97.1 The Fan in Columbus. At 7 o'clock on Monday evening, we'll rerun the game against the Vancouver Canucks from March the 1st. And then on Thursday of next week, that is April the 2nd, it'll be a game against the Ottawa Senators. Again, that'll be at 7 o'clock as well. So the radio replays next week, Monday and Thursday at 7 o'clock. And the TV today, Friday, noon and 8 o'clock, and then on Monday at noon. So we don't have new hockey to bring you, but we have some great instant classics, if you will, that we're going to bring to you again, both on TV and the radio. So thanks for taking the time to check in and listen once again. Monday mailbag coming up on Monday. You can send your questions anytime. You can either send them to me on Twitter at BobbyMacSports. You can record it with your name and where you're from and your question. Record it as a voice memo on your phone and email me, BobbyMac, BOBBYMAC, at BlueJackets.com. Get those questions in for me, and I'll have another Monday mailbag edition coming up on Monday, of course. That's going to do it for today's edition of CBJ in 30, presented by Tel Ohio Credit Union. I'm Bob McElligott saying so long.